Today we geek out about best candy on the block. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Lee with Geek City USA here, and today we're going to talk about a game by Barron called Best Candy on the Block. Now, Best Candy on the Block is a Halloween candy themed card game where you're trying to take more tricks than your opponent. First person to 31 points is the victor. I'm going to take you over here, give you a brief overview on how to play the game, and we'll come back and I'll give you our thoughts on the game. Alright guys, this is Best Candy on the Block, and this is a prototype copy of the game, so definitely check out the Kickstarter page for what the final product will look like. Now I have this set up for a 4-player game, and in a 4-player setup you will deal each player 12 cards, and you'll put the remaining here in the center of the table, and that will be called the stash. And then each player will also get two of these suit cards here, and you'll look and see, and each one will have a different type of candy on it. And you will pick one, or each player will pick one, and at the end of the game these will be worth bonus points. So any cards here, if you see, every card is going to have different suits listed. And at the end of the round, let's say this person picks the marshmallow. For any marshmallow card, they will get an additional point towards their final score. So let's go through here and we'll just say that each player will pick one for each player here with no rhyme nor reason. And these are kept secret as well, so that way your opponents don't know what you're going for. Now once you pick your suit card, you will turn the stash cards face up, and you will, starting with any player, you will go ahead and pick a card, and you're going to go in a clockwise order. So in this case, this player might want the 12 that will go in their deck here. The next player might want the 11. This player might want the -1 in order to trick an opponent. And say this player might want the 8, or they'll take the -1 as well. And then these remaining cards are discarded from the game. Now you will take the cards that have been discarded from the suit deck and shuffle them in with the other cards that were not selected or were not used, and you will flip over a card. And this is the trump suit for this hand. So when you play the game, now the first player is going to play a card. They do not have to play trump. They can play, let's say they want to play this card, and they could play it as any of the suits that they want to. So in this case, I could play this card and say the chocolate. So this is a 6 chocolate. Of course, you probably wouldn't want to lead with that. You'd want to deal with or lead with a higher card. And if you play a high card, or any card for that matter, and it has the trump suit on it, you need to play it as the trump. So in this case, player 1 will play this as trump, so this is a 12 of candy. So the next player has to follow suit, and they would look at their hand here, and they would say play the 11. The third player would look through, and they have a 5, a 6, 10, and a 7. Well, they're not going to be able to win the trump, so they'll play their low card. And then the final player will look here, and they have the 1, and they could play that. So in this example here, player 1 played the highest card, so they take the first trick. And whoever takes the trick, they get to start the next trick. Now again, they don't have to play trump, so they could say, I want to lead with the 11 here, and we'll call it, I'll put it in front of them so we can see what it is. We'll say, we'll use the caramel. So, okay, so this player needs to play something with caramel if they can. That's the 11. Do we have something higher with caramel? There's an 8. Oh yeah, we have the 12. So this player could play the 12. And this player will play the 4, because that's the only caramel that they have. And finally, this player will play the 5. So in this case, player 2 would win this suit, and they have gained 1 trick. And then they would start the next hand with what they have. So now player 2 will lead, let's say they lead with, let's go for a high card, because you'll generally lead with a high card, but they will play the 12 of marshmallow. So does this guy not have any marshmallows? Perfect. So he doesn't have any marshmallows, but he could play any other card if he wants to get rid of a low card or something, or we have these trick cards. So he could play this trick card. Now we'll go through here and let's see, does anybody else have a marshmallow? He does, we'll play that. And then she has, yep, she has a marshmallow as well. So in this case, this player would take this trick. However, This trick would be worth 1 point, but they now have a -1 that's going to go into their total at the end of the game, or at the end of the round. And you're going to continue on playing cards and taking tricks until you've played through all 13 tricks here. So now once you finish your round, you'll take all your cards, you'll shuffle them all back up, you'll deal out another 12 to each player, and each player will get 2 new suit cards, and whatever is left over will be flipped, and that will be the next trump card. And you'll continue on, and you will do this until one player has 31 points. The first player to 31 points would be the winner. And that, in a nutshell, is how you play Best Candy on the Block. Now, I did want to lay out these cards just so you can get an idea of what the art on these cards really looks like, because they are very clever and very thematic. You have the plastic vampire teeth that I remember growing up, a broken pumpkin, which is a bummer, it's a perfect trick. The coconut covered marshmallows is what I think those are. And then you have like the spider rings, and everything is really, really thematic for the Halloween season. It reminds me of trick-or-treating as a kid, to be honest with you. Swedish fish. And what are the pencils? Nobody likes a pencil. Nobody ever wanted a pencil. Always wanted the candy. And just a bunch of, the sour gummy worms and a whole bunch of good stuff. So just want to make sure that you guys got to see that a little bit better rather than flying through. You got your Jawbreakers, your candy bars, which I think you could tell the brands by looking at them, and your Neapolitan stuff. So yeah, that's in a nutshell how you play, and here's the game. And I'll take you back up here and give you our thoughts on the game. All right, guys, that was Best Candy on the Block. Now, first things first, that was a prototype copy of the game, and while the cards were very high quality, definitely be sure to check out the Kickstarter page for what the final product will look like, as there may be some art changes in the final version. Now, I really appreciated the presentation of this game. I really liked the fact that this was a classic looking deck of cards. The back of the card deck looked like the old school classic deck of cards. However, there were little pumpkins and Halloween themed pieces intertwined in it. I thought that was a great touch, and I also really liked the artwork on the cards. It was really simplistic, but it spoke volumes. Everything about those cards and the art reminded me of trick-or-treating as a kid. You had the wax teeth, you had the nondescript packed with peanuts candy bars. I don't want to name any specific brand names because I highly doubt they're going to be licensed for the game, but everything about the cards and the candy used in it reminded me of trick-or-treating and Halloween season as a kid. The gameplay of this game is really easy to pick up, especially if you're familiar with trick-taking card games at all, because you have your trump suit, you're trying to take tricks, and you're working to a goal of the most points. But there are a few changes to this that I thought added a nice variety to the game. You're dealt candy cards at the beginning of the game that you get to pick which ones you want. And whatever card that you pick, let's say you pick Swedish fish, every card that you take, every trick that you take with those Swedish fish is worth an extra point to you. So it's a nice way to gain additional points at the end of the game. And that's secret information, so it adds a bit of a wild card. So the person who may be running away with the game initially that you think is going to win the game, because they took the most tricks, you may have taken more meaningful tricks and therefore are able to pull out a victory. I also thought that the prank cards added a nice touch or were a nice addition to the game because they were really thematic to me. They reminded me of, again, when I was trick-or-treating as a kid, and you empty out that bag of candy, you would get a coloring book, some crayons, a toothbrush, all the junk that you didn't want. And you just really wanted the candy. And this is the same way, because people are grabbing their tricks, kind of like they're taking their candy, they're getting their candy from house to house. And if you throw a shaving cream at them, they're gonna take that and it's gonna go into their stash or their bag, and they're gonna lose points just like in real life. You get that and you're kind of bummed about it. The game also plays pretty quickly, so it's one that you can get multiple hands or multiple games in a sitting, and because of its traditional aspect to it, the trick-taking game, it's one that you can introduce to non-gamer friends because they'll be familiar with the gameplay style. So it's one that I think would make its way out to the table more often during this season. All in all, I thought this was a fun game. I grew up on trick-taking games, euchre in particular, if anybody out there knows what that is. And I also thought it was really cool that here we have a Halloween themed game that is not scary in nature. It's one that you can play with your family, you can play with your kids. It's so accessible because it's a trick-taking game that you can play with all sorts of people, and it really fits the theme of the holiday, and I thought that was a nice touch to the game. All right, guys, that's it. I'm Lee with Geek City USA. Thanks for hanging out with us. Be sure to comment down below, like, subscribe, check us out on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, and we love to interact with you. So thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you guys next time. Cheers.